the office and get the bullwhip.
A whipping? That's all they get after what they've done? Get out of there!
It was a matter of honor.
They're paying $1,000 to whatever kills the two boys that cut up Delilah.
In a time when lawmen were killers.
What are y'all looking at?
You English, Bob?
Outlaws were heroes.
Well, I thought that you were dead.
Hell, I even thought I was dead. Till I found out I was just in Nebraska.
And a bad reputation.
You're the one who killed William Harvey and robbed that train over Missouri?
Was as good as gold.
My guess is you're calling yourself Mr. William Money.
Say what?
You don't look no meaner than hell, cold-blooded damn killer.
I ain't like that anymore, kid.
$1,000 reward, Will.
Nobody's gonna come.
So you still have that Spencer rifle, huh? Yeah. He's my partner. He don't go, I don't go.
What's it come to 3 ways?
Just because we're going on this killing, that don't mean I'm going to go back to being the way I was.
Are you really gonna kill them cowboys?
I do not like assassins. Or men of low character. We ain't bad men no more. We're farmers. You're not savages! A bunch of bloody savages! Assassins!
Oh, I guess they have it coming.
We all have it coming, kid.
Some legends will never be forgotten. Some wrongs can never be forgiven.
Any man don't want to get killed. Better clear on out the back.
Unforgiven.
Okay, maybe mod's probably not the best word for it. I mean, this is technically it kind of is because it did come out in 92, but this takes place in the film itself takes place in the 1800s, so technically it's not a modern Western. It's a revisionist Western, I should have probably said, but, needless to say, though, I mean, this is one of those movies where I really don't need to talk about it too much because there's not much more that could be said about this one that hasn't already been said. It's a fantastic movie. It's one of my favorite movies of all time, actually, and, it's Clint Eastwood returning to the Western role that made him famous one last time, and it's a very good film. It's a really well-made film. Eastwood's given one of his best performances. He also directs the film. Gene Hackman also is very good in this movie, and you have Morgan Freeman in there, Richard Harris, and of course, Eastwood and Hackman won Oscars for Best Director and Best Actor, Best Supporting Actor, I should say, and then Best Picture, and of the movies that we've looked at on this particular show, this is probably the one Best Picture winner that I would say is the best of the bunch that we've looked at so far. It's better than Driving Miss Daisy. It's better than Dances with Wolves. It's better than Silence of the Lambs. It's a movie that I can go back to numerous times and just watch and be amazed by how much I enjoyed this movie so much. It's a very well-made film, fantastic film all around. Really, there's nothing else more I can put into this that hasn't already been said already about it. If you haven't seen Unforgiven yet, for the love of God, man, go see it. Even if you don't like Westerns, you'll definitely love this movie. It's a wonderful film, Unforgiven, classic Clint Eastwood at its best. So, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is John Lithgow in the psychological thriller Raising Cain from director Brian De Palma.
Looks like she was put in the car when she was still alive and then drowned. Look at her nails. See how they're cut and torn? Looks like she was trying to claw her way out. You should see the expression on her face.
You know, I hate to bring this up, but you are married to the perfect man. I don't know.
Car popped up out of Half Moon Marsh. Got a woman's body in it.
And he's becoming awfully compulsive with Amy. He doesn't just take care of her. He studies her.
What do we got now? 2 moms disappear from the same playground.
It could get us all put away for good.
I have this horrible feeling that it has something to do with his father.
I did nothing. I don't even exist. This thing you're doing means everything to the old man.
I won't hurt her. She'll hurt you.
We gotta find these women now. I don't want to be walking behind any lousy coffins.
I want to know what you've done with Amy!
I don't know where she is. I do.
You should never have gotten out.
Dr. Waldheim!
You're nothing but a cheap hoodlum.
I am what you made me, Dad.
I know what you're going to do. It's a bad thing, and I'm gonna tell.
It was Fonzie. He did it again.
It's my wife.
You saw us in the park together, didn't you?
I'm not gonna let that loving wife of yours sell you down the river.
Give me my child!
What do you think?
I think...
Hickory dickory dock. Cain has picked his lock.
Or this movie should just be simply called the John Lithgow movie, because he steals the show, man. I mean, he is fantastic in this movie. He is the psychological killer, and he's just a ton of fun to watch in this movie. I mean, he's really one of the main reason you watch this movie is because he's playing all these different roles in here, and he's just... When John Lithgow plays a villain, usually it's very good, and this is one of his strongest performances as playing these multiple antagonist roles, I should say. And in a way, it kind of predates what Split would eventually become, sort of. But yeah, it's a great movie overall. Directed by Brian De Palma. His first thriller he actually has done since Body Double, which came out almost 10 years before this in '84, and it's a really good movie. It's very terrifying, very tense, keeps you on the edge of your seat throughout the course of the movie, and you're just wondering what's going to happen at the end of this movie. How's this going to pan out? And when they stick the landing, they do a pretty good job with it for the most part. And it's a very good movie. It's an overall enjoyable film. If you want to see John Lithgow at his absolute best, definitely check out Raising Cain. You will not be sorry that you did. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie here, and that is the family comedy Three Ninjas.
We're three brothers learning the ways of the ninja, but what started as a game suddenly turned real. Those kids.
You should run. Say hi. You should kick their butt.
Now 3 heroic kids are taking on one ruthless criminal. And they're determined to have the last laugh.
Enjoy the ride.
3 Ninjas, rated PG.
Because Home Alone and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were the 2 biggest family hits in the 1990s, Disney basically said, you know what, let's put them both together, because that's literally what this movie is. Like, they take the elements of Home Alone, they take the elements of Ninja Turtles, mesh them together, and you get a movie here that surprisingly did very well. This was only a $2.5 million budgeted film, and nearly made back 10 times that much. In fact, made more than 10 times that much, because it made like $30 million, and they actually made a series out of this. This was the only one released by Disney, though. This is John Turteltaub who directed this movie, and one of his early movies before he eventually became the big director that he became known as. And, I mean, as far as the movie goes, it's pretty much your typical 90s kids movie. It's something that I think more people who have seen this who saw this movie as a kid growing up would definitely get more out of it than most other people would. I myself didn't grow with this movie, so really watching it later on down the road, I can really see why a lot of people didn't like it. But I can also see why kids who saw this movie back in '92 and grew up now look at this movie and would find more enjoyment out of it than I did. I just didn't think it was that good of a movie. I mean, I thought it was just it was a little too corny for my own taste, and I'll take some corny stuff, but this was really corny at times. It gets way too silly at times. You don't really get any good laughs in this movie. It just didn't work for me. I know it works for some people, but me personally, it just didn't work. So that's my thoughts on Three Ninjas. Let's go ahead and move on to the next movie here, and that's another thriller, which is Annabelle Sciorra and I almost said Alan Arkin, Alan Alda in Whispers in the Dark.
Before we actually began making love, he said that he wanted to tie my wrists. He hadn't even touched me. And it happened. My cheeks are pink.
As a psychiatrist, Dr. Ann Hecker is trained not to show her emotions.
I'm having this recurring dream about her lover.
Now, feelings she didn't know she had.
Are you the woman in the dream? Or is it this patient of yours, Eve?
Have opened up her private life.
I met a guy. Wonderful guy.
You trusted him?
To the fulfillment of a fantasy.
He just may be the gentlest man I've ever met.
But whether you're the patient...
He was behind me, whispering in my ear. He told me that he owned me.
Or the therapist.
What if it's all delusional?
What do you mean, this lover of hers doesn't exist at all?
Fantasies can be dangerous.
We were at the tavern on the green to have lunch, like we do every Wednesday.
And what looks like a coincidence.
Hey, did you go find when my stories made you hot? Yeah.
Could turn out to be
My shrink has been sleeping with my man.
a killing.
He lost it and hit her in the back of the head with a blunt object, and he got off on it. How much of this animal's history do you even know? I don't know what she told you, but I hadn't talked to her in months.
2 women he's with, both found dead by the same means.
I'm in love with him.
In the heat of the moment,
He probably killed her, like he would have killed you, you stupid.
she could be hurt.
Should have put a knife into you a long time ago.
She could be violated. She could be next. Whispers in the dark.
Another movie that has a pretty good cast overall. Annabelle Shiora, I just mentioned. Also Alan Alda. You got Joe Kleber, John Leguizamo, Deborah Unger, Anthony LaPaglia. Really good cast here. There is potential here for a pretty good mystery overall. However, when you watch the movie in the end, it basically just comes off as a knockoff Basic Instinct and not even a very good one. I mean, this movie tries way too hard to be risque. It tries way too hard to be this dark, twisted, erotic thriller. And A Basic Instinct was just one of those rare erotic thrillers that actually scored with people. It actually was a pretty good movie overall. But this is just, it's a movie that's so predictable. You can pretty much tell what's going to happen at the end. And sure enough, everything that you think is going to happen in here. And it's just, like I said, it's trying way too hard to be this deep erotic thriller. I mean, right from the beginning of the movie, they have this really explicit and dark opening credits sequence that's just like, settle down there, guys. I mean, you're pushing way too hard for this movie to do what you think you want it to do. And it just shows that this movie did not really pan out as well as I think they wanted it to. It's a movie that could have had something interesting, especially with the people on board, but in the end, it's pretty much a generic movie that you've seen done over and over again. It's another lackluster erotic thriller that came and went, and for good reason. It just didn't end up being good. It ended up being one of the worst movies of the year by a lot of people, and you could definitely see why. So that's Whispers in the Dark. Let's go ahead and move on to the next movie that we have here, and that is Mistress.
Joe Marvin Landisman wrote a screenplay. After all this time, the one thing he never thought would happen.
I want to get this picture made, Marvin.
Finally happened.
Why did you meet my money guy?
So that's it. I mean, we're in business.
And it just so happens he has his girlfriend.
There's a part in your script that she wants.
Jack, I can't use her. Would it hurt to audition her?
I'm a sex goddess.
But making a movie in Hollywood means knowing how to play the game.
Is there any humor in the film?
It's sad, but funny.
Oh, you mean kind of like Terms of Endearment?
Exactly. Terms of endearment.
Terms of endearment.
Is he working on the script too? Oh, yeah. Stewart here studied with the same teachers as Spielberg.
First, you've got to come to terms with your backers.
If I'm going to do the film, we're going to do it my way.
He's got a girl, too.
Then, you've got to zero in on a star.
Where's Faulkner?
He's too old.
No, he's right there.
Nobody ever said it was going to be easy. And for Marvin, easy it will never be.
You know, this film is about a guy's involvement with his art. How does he have time for 3 women?
You're right. That's why I was thinking we ought to change him into a gigolo.
Join an all-star cast. Danny Aiello, Robert De Niro, Martin Landau, Laurie Metcalf, Gene Smart, Christopher Walken, Eli Wallach, and Robert Wall for Mistress, a movie where everyone wants to be a player.
There's no sex in your film. There has to be more sex.
Great idea.
Mistress.
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I expected a much different movie with the title Mistress, but I was not expecting a kind of a lower version of The Player, which I think is a much better movie. But I know I should be saying that because I haven't seen this. I can't really comment on it too much. But I mean, it doesn't look too. Honestly, it doesn't look too bad. But it just looks like a movie that was trying to be kind of like The Player in a way. Except the player, I think, was written a lot better. But I mean, this movie doesn't have too many bad reviews. In fact, if I look on Rotten Tomatoes, it's got a 72% on there, so that's not too bad. Good cast overall. Robert De Niro, Christopher Walken, Danny Aiello, Martin Landau, Gene Smart, Cheryl Lee Ralph, Tuesday Knight, Laurie Metcalf, Martin Landau. Just a great cast overall in this particular movie, so I mean, it might be one I might definitely check out one day, but it's not something I'm going to rush out to see right now. But oh, and Robert Wolf's in here too. In between his work on Batman and then Artless, so there's that. But other than that, though, it's not one I'm going to rush out to see. But I am kind of curious to check it out maybe one day. So maybe one day I'll definitely check it out. But for right now, it's something that I haven't seen, so I can't really say any more about it. So that's Mistress for you. Let's go ahead and move on to the next movie that we have here, and that is London Kills Me.
What in the fuck are you saying to him? I'm not a fucking doctor, am I? Can't put that down as Japanese. It's because I am strong and rich that these people come to me every day, because they know I'm too guilty and weak to refuse them.
Unfortunately, there was no trailer for that, so I just took a little bit of a clip from the movie, but I've never seen this movie, so let me just give you a rundown of the plot here. For want of a nail, a shoe was lost. For want of a shoe, a young man's life is almost lost, which is exactly what this film is all about. A man barely 22 wants desperately to pull out of London's drug world by taking a job as a waiter in a normal restaurant, but to do that, he has to come up with a sensible pair of shoes, an item that homeless meanderings haven't provided him. In fact, the shoes become a symbol of his striving to break away from those like himself who are caught up in the tragedy of drugs and lavishness, which is so aptly described, sometimes graphically, almost realistically in this film. Like I said, that's pretty much all I know about this. I read that off of the IMDb page because I know nothing about this movie. There's no trailer for it, so I can't really go into too much on that. It came out this weekend. That's pretty much all I got for you, but yeah, that's pretty much all I got for you on that one. So let's go ahead and move on to the last movie that we have here, and that is Bed and Breakfast.
At the Wellesley Bed and Breakfast, the rooms were empty, and so were the lives of the women who lived there.
What you wish for? Hot sex.
Until he arrived.
How'd you end up on our beach?
I don't remember.
Amnesia. We got ourselves a man.
I will not have a strange man staying in my house.
Handyman. Ruth, we don't need a handyman. Now we need a handyman.
So as you can tell, the plot is about Roger Moore, this charming Englishman, changes the lives of these 3 generations of women who run a near-bankrupt bed and breakfast. They find him out cold on the beach, offer him free board in return to fixing up the place, being the handyman. And he's unwilling. One of the ladies, Claire, played by Talia Shire, is initially unwilling to let him in the house, partially due to the mystery around him caused by his amnesia. Her mother-in-law, Ruth, Colleen DeHurst, recently retired and craving adventure, insists on allowing him inside, and Claire's teenage daughter, Cassie, played by Nina Simasko, is rebellious against her mother's old-fashioned beliefs most of the time, names him Adam. Again, reading it off of Wikipedia because I haven't seen this movie, I can't really comment on it, but I can say that it did come out, and that's a weekend, and it looks like a movie that's could go either way. I haven't seen anything too negative about it, I haven't seen anything too positive about it. It looks like something that could go either way in terms of what kind of a movie it ends up becoming. But like I said, I can't really comment on it too much because I haven't seen it. I can only say that it came out this weekend and acknowledge that it came out this weekend. So that is Bed and Breakfast for you.
In this city, on this street, in this apartment.
Hi, are you Allison Jones? I'm Hedra Carlson.
Hedra? That's unusual. When can you move in?
An ad for a roommate brought a stranger into Allison's life. Someone
Beautiful.
who shares.
What's kind of fun having a girlfriend again?
Someone
Do you guys know when you'll be back? No, it's kind of an anniversary night. Really?
who cares.
Where the hell have you been? Making me feel like I'm 16 years old here.
Someone who borrows.
I've got a surprise for you.
You've got to be kidding.
I love myself like this. It was like looking at myself. It was scary.
Someone who steals.
Hey, sleepy guy.
Allie?
No, not Allie.
Someone who would kill to be her.
Possible bloodstains.
You gotta help me, Grim.
She's a lunatic, Ellie.
She needs me.
How do you lock the terror out
Don't let me come get you!
when already invited it in?
Look at me!
Bridget Fonda,
I know you weren't yourself when you did this.
Jennifer Jason Leigh,
I know. That was you.
single, white, female. Living with a roommate can be murder.
Be careful, she's crazy.
Well, okay, thank you for telling me that, because clearly I wouldn't have been able to know that she's crazy. So thank you for that movie. I really do appreciate it. So yeah, single white female. Did you see The Hand That Rocks the Cradle? Then you pretty much seen this movie. It's pretty much the same movie, except notable changes here and there. Obvious changes. There's no baby involved in here, but you still have another woman getting revenge on another woman, a woman getting revenge on another woman for some, so on and so forth. And honestly, it is pretty much the same movie as The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, and it follows a lot of the same situations here. It's mostly a cautionary tale about, hey, if you're gonna put out an ad for somebody to come in and be your roommate, you might want to think about background checks, because clearly Bridget Fonda made the wrong decision here in this movie, and of course, if she didn't do that, then we wouldn't have a movie, which probably wouldn't be the worst thing about this movie. I will say this though, I will say that it's slightly better than The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, sort of. I mean, Hand That Rocks the Cradle was just a movie that just didn't work on any level, mostly because you couldn't believe Rebecca De Mornay as the antagonist of the movie. What makes this movie different, though, is that Jennifer Jason Leigh, I think, plays a better antagonist role in this movie. I mean, I think she plays that role a lot better in this movie than De Mornay did in Hand That Rocks the Cradle. But, yeah, other than that, though, there really wasn't anything too tense or exciting about this movie, in my opinion. I just looked at it and I was just like, I've seen this before, and I haven't seen it. Me personally, I don't think it was done very well, but when you talk about these type of movies, this is usually one of the ones that get brought up almost instantaneously. Plus, you got Barbette Schroeder, who had just done Reversal of Fortune, which won Jeremy Irons an Academy Award before that, and then he did Barfly after that, and after that, there wasn't really a whole lot there that he did afterward that really stood out, honestly. When I think about the movies that he did afterwards, like Kiss of Death, Desperate Measures, Murder by Numbers, just a lot of movies that were just there. They didn't really do a whole lot there in particular, but, I mean, the movie did have a following. It was a huge hit when it came out, and I don't know, maybe people just like this concept enough to make it work. Me personally, I didn't think it worked as well as I think everybody else thought it did, but, and again, there's an audience for everybody, so, overall, I liked it a little bit better than Hand That Rocks the Cradle, but that's not really saying a whole lot because that movie was bad. This one is just meh. It's just mediocre, to say the least, at least in my opinion. So that's Single White Female. Let's go ahead and move on to the next movie that we have here, and that is John Ritter in Stay Tuned.
Sorry to disturb you at this hour, but I have something you want. A new TV?
It broadcast programs no one had ever seen.
Wednesday at 9, don't miss an all-new episode of The Silencer of the Lambs.
Then one night, Roy and Helen Nabel got sucked in and discovered that hell is one TV show after another.
Let's welcome our new contestants, Roy and Helen Nabel!
And they're starring in every show.
I've watched enough wrestling to know one thing. It's all fake. No one ever gets it.
Not fake. Not fake.
So the object, Mr. Pierce, is to kill them before they reach the end.
Oh my God, we're cartoons. I am not alone. I'm Helen Nabel. I have 2 beautiful children.
Mom? Our parents are trapped in television.
Now, they can't go home. They can only switch channels.
Where'd he go?
Hey, lady, watch out!
And every series is a nightmare. That's
entertainment.
because Satan is the sponsor.
Okay, everybody, head spins. Very good, very nice.
Well, time to rock and roll.
Star me up. You got to star me up. Star me
Don't miss this comedy from hell.
Party time! It's the best!
That'll save her.
Stay tuned.
Where have you been?
So here we have another one of those comedies that used to be on HBO a lot back in the 1990s. I mean, you really couldn't go. I think there were a couple of days. There were days where there was a stretch where every single day you would at least see this movie one time on TV throughout much of the 90s. I mean, it was all over the place. And I found myself watching it several times back then. But even then, I realized that the movie never really reaches that potential that this has here. You have a really good idea here, a dark satirical comedy with an interesting premise and concept behind it, but because it's PG, we're going to put zero effort into the parodies themselves. I mean, really, the parodies in this are not really all that funny, and they're just kind of lazy, too, like The Silencer of the Lambs, Three Men and Rosemary's Baby, Unmarried with Children, Northern Overexposure, Saturday Night Dead. I mean, you got to come up with some better jokes like that. I mean, there are a couple of jokes here that do work. I like that Three's Company parody they did in the trailer. And then you got Chuck Jones to do a really good animated sequence there. And it is it's a legitimately funny sequence. I mean, those are the two moments where I really thought, okay, this is where you're using a lot of that potential. And, I mean, John Ritter and Pam Dauber are doing their best here. And I think Jeffrey Jones can play a decent bad guy. But overall, the movie just doesn't work. And I think it was because Tim Burton was attached to do this at one point, but instead he decided to do Batman Returns. And really, I think Tim Burton probably could have made this work, especially with, at that point in his career, he had just come off of Edward Scissorhands, but instead he decided to do Batman Returns, which financially probably worked out better for him. But, I mean, overall, as it stands, Stay Tuned is just kind of a very interesting concept, but the overall film itself really has nothing to work with at the end. A couple of decent scenes, a couple of good scenes for the cast, working with the material given to them. The comedy is very mediocre. The lack of a good narrative to work with, it makes this movie kind of fall apart pretty quickly. It never takes the chances that I think it really should have taken, and really, it just didn't work as a film for me. So it's a movie that's a movie that just didn't work. So stay tuned. That's pretty much all I got to say about that one. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie that we have here, and that is James Woods and Louis Gossett Jr. in the boxing drama Digtown.
You know the difference between a hustler and a good con man? Hustler has to get out of town as quick as he can. But a good con man, he doesn't have to leave until he wants to.
Hi.
Even.
Two things we never joke about here in Digstown, Mr. Kane. Our boxing and our betting.
I never heard of no Honey Roy Palmer.
Could take on any 10 of you in a day.
Nobody can take 10 men.
Any 10, any day.
I'd bet 1,000 on it.
But would you bet $2,000 on it?
I got $10,000 against your 1,000.
How's about your $100,000 against my 10,000?
You're not serious.
Roy's in, right? I mean,
I haven't asked him yet.
I know you're here to try and pitch me on something, but I'm off the con, and I'm out completely. Forever.
All right.
What do you mean, all right?
I mean, if you're not interested, you're not interested.
Pick me up at 8.
How old is this boy?
48.
10 men in 24 hours? He ain't gonna last 10 seconds.
Now, you fighters, you do exactly what I say, you make $1,000.
Emily, I need your help. Kind of information that can get you killed.
Dear Lord, give us the strength to tear this man limb to limb.
The bank records Fiona was the whole town.
What's up with these Busbies?
I'm thinking of upping our side bet to an even $250,000.
Who's next?
You.
Ouch.
Getting older than me. Go 15 rounds. You're wheezing like an old goat. I don't know what's worse. Fighting to him or listening to your mouth.
Hey! You want to bet? Let's bet.
$1.5 million, all right? Forfeit and kill me right now.
Come on, boy, get up. It ain't over with yet.
Okay, look, he's bigger than you are, he's tougher, he's faster, he's younger than you are. He hasn't fought 22 rounds today, but you remember this. You are black.
What the hell is that supposed to mean?
I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to inspire you. You know, it's a roots kind of thing.
He seems awful mad. Did you tell him he was black?
Okay, I'm not gonna lie, that bit at the end was actually pretty funny. I mean, I say it's a drama, but it is pretty much a mix of a comedy. It's a dramedy, because there are funny moments, as you see in that trailer here, and overall, the movie itself is actually pretty decent. I actually watched this one time a couple years ago, and overall, I was pleasantly surprised by it. There was a lot in there that I thought was funny. I thought James Woods was very good. I think him and his chemistry with Louis Gossett Jr. is very good. Bruce Dern is great in the film. You got Heather Graham in here, Oliver Platt. Just a great cast overall here. Michael Ritchie, the director of this movie, of course, he made some great movies like Bad News Bears, Semi-Tough, Fletch Lives, The Golden Child. So it's an overall pretty enjoyable movie. It's a movie that's very underrated, but overall, when you watch the film, it actually does live up to a lot. It does actually work more than I think it doesn't work. There's more in this movie that I like that I didn't like, so that's probably the best way to describe it. But if you're looking for a good James Woods movie, this is definitely worth it. Especially if even if you're looking for a good Louis Gossett Jr. movie. This certainly beats the crap out of Ace's Iron Eagle 3, because that really is something for an Academy Award-winning actor to say yes to. But yeah, Dickstown was actually pretty decent. I'd say definitely check it out if you can get a chance to see it. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie that we have here, and that is The Living End.
You'd rather die for the sex or love?
So what's your name? You sexy slab of buff beefcake. Luke.
Stop it, Daisy. You just want to play hide the weenie with him, and you know it.
Where's the party, animal?
15 left. The test only verifies that you have the antibodies to the virus.
Sorry.
I mean, you were careful, right?
Yeah. Most of the time.
Prepare to swallow your teeth, faggot.
Guess again, Three Stooges.
48 hours ago, I was just another bummed out HIV-positive homo minding my own business.
Go, Dad! Go!
I'm a fugitive facing an accessory to murder rap.
Dude, come on. It's gonna be rad.
You totally lost your mind. Where are you?
I don't know. Siberia? Want to know what it is I like best about guys' bodies?
I really hate guys who talk during sex. Did I ever mention that?
I'm not going to fondle your crotch right now. Why not? Because I'm a responsible driver.
What do you say we go to Washington, blow Bush's brains out?
Or better yet, inject him with a syringe full of our blood? How much you want to bet they'd have a magic cure by tomorrow?
Many people live perfectly healthy, normal lives for years and years.
The world is ours.
Yeah, right.
So basically, if you don't know what the plot was from that trailer, you have this guy, he's a reckless drifter, and he meets this other guy who's a pessimistic film critic. They're both gay and HIV positive, and after they meet, Luke kills a homophobic police officer. They go on a road trip with the motto of fuck everything. So in a way, it's kind of a mix of a gay Thelma and Louise, but I also kind of see it as kind of a gay Bonnie and Clyde, because it's kind of the same. It's kind of that same story a little bit, but I can't really say anything too much about it because I haven't seen it. But it looks like a movie that really would have been. That really is what it is. As seen as an early entry to the new queer cinema genre that was taking place at the time period. And this director has also done stuff like Totally Fucked Up, The Doom Generation, Nowhere, Splendor, Mysterious Skin, Smiley Face, Kaboom. So he's got a lot. This guy's got a lot of different movies on his plate here. And like I said, I can't really comment on it too much because I haven't seen it, but I could see the appeal of this movie overall. I think it's a movie it looks like a movie that could be very enjoyable. But like I said, I can't comment on it too much because I haven't seen it. I can only acknowledge that it came out this weekend, and it looks pretty promising. So that's The Living End. Let's go ahead and move on to the last movie that we have here, and that is Brad Pitt starring in Johnny Suede.
Many stories have been told of man's search for meaning in his life, but none of them quite like this one. Johnny's life had no meaning. It seemed to be going nowhere. Then one night, meaning struck him in the form of black suede shoes, and there was no stopping him now.
What are those, bedroom slippers?
They're one-of-a-kind black suede shoes. My name's Suede. Jan Suede. Johnny Suede.
So I think you could pretty much get the plot right there. You got this guy who wants to be like a rock and roll star, like Ricky Nelson, his idol, and he has everything he needs except for a pair of black suede shoes. He actually gets them, and soon his world kind of turns around. He meets this girl who's a sultry bohemian with whom he beds down for the night. In spite of Darlette's abusive, gun-toting boyfriend, Johnny begins to see Darlette every day. But when Johnny is forced to pawn his guitar for rent money, Darlette leaves him. Johnny's pal Deke fronts him the money to get his guitar out of pocket, and the two form a band. And he wanders aimlessly to find this girl, and he meets another girl named Yvonne, who's a woman much wiser than Johnny, who teaches him that there are more things in life than a pair of black suede shoes. And I read that off Wikipedia because, again, I haven't seen the movie, so I can't really comment on it. But this movie is notable because Brad Pitt, he made this movie before he became the star that he was in '92. This was before Thelma and Louise. This was before Cool World. And Miramax saw this movie, and Harvey Weinstein was urged by one of the people at Miramax to get the rights to this movie for a film that he hadn't seen, and it paid off in the end because it won the Best Picture at the International Film Festival in Lorcana, and it actually went on to become and to seal the distribution deal. The film didn't make a ton of money at the box office because it was only in one release, one cinema, and it only made $90,000 off a budget of $500,000. But I'm assuming the film made back its money once video sales came into play, and overall, it doesn't look like a bad movie. It looks like a movie that is kind of a breakout performance for Brad Pitt. So, and yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say about it because I haven't seen this movie. I can't comment on it, but I can acknowledge that it came out this particular weekend. So, there you go. That's Johnny Suede.
Brandon Lee is Jake Lowe. He wasn't looking for trouble.
Please tell me what thing!
But it found him anyway.
The Chicago branch of La Cosa Nostra.
He hasn't pulled the trigger in 15 years. And you, my friend, were there to see it.
Now, he's a witness.
He'll be under 24-hour FBI detention.
So who else is testifying against this guy?
Who's about to become a target.
Freeze!
The only way to fight fire is with fire. Put him out of here.
I think I've had enough police protection.
Rapid fire.
So Rapid Fire was most notably known as the last movie that Brandon Lee did before he was shot and killed accidentally on the set of The Crow, which wouldn't come out for another 2 years. But this is a movie that came out, wasn't the hugest hit when it came out, but when you look at the movie overall, really, it's a movie that it's a movie that I think works because of Brandon Lee. It shows the potential that he could have had as an actor had he not been killed by accident. Like it's a really solid performance by him. I think the script overall is very generic, very formulaic, very much a similar type of story that we've seen done over and over again before. But Lee's character really, I think, Lee does carry the movie all the way through. It shows the potential that could have been if he was still alive today. But it shows that he definitely had a chance to really become a great action star if he really had the chance to be alive to do these type of movies. Even though I don't think the movie itself is all that great, it did show the potential of what Brandon Lee could eventually become. But directed by Dwight H. Little, we've talked about a couple of his movies before, including Marked for Death and The Phantom of the Opera. Another movie that's not is again not a good movie, not really a bad movie either, just kind of run-of-the-mill. It's a movie that's pretty generic for the most part, but it works mostly because, I think, because of Brandon Lee. I think he does carry the movie a lot more than I think anybody expected it to. If there was a little bit less of the cliches, a little bit less formulaic stuff, this movie probably could have been something really good, but if you're looking for a decent action film, I would say this is definitely worth it, because the action sequences in here are still very impressive, and again, Brandon Lee really does carry this movie, and again, it's a shame that this was the last movie that he made while he was still alive, because he really could have been a decent actor, and have a decent set of action movies if he had stayed alive after what happened with The Crow. But sadly, it was not meant to be, unfortunately. But I think this movie works mostly because of Lee and the action sequences. It doesn't work because of the story being very cliched, and most of the other characters are not really all that impressive, but if you're going to watch this movie, you watch it for Brandon Lee, and you watch it for the action sequences, because they do carry the film overall. So, that's Rapid Fire. Let's go ahead and move on to the next movie that we have here, and that is Christopher Columbus: The Discovery, appropriately enough, because this is actually being filmed on Columbus Day. This episode in particular is being filmed on Columbus Day 2022, and this was actually the first of an unusual number of Christopher Columbus movies that came out in 1992. We'll go ahead and explain that in just a little bit, but here's the trailer for the Alexander Salkind-produced Christopher Columbus: The Discovery.
In a time when the leaders of the church were as powerful as gods,
you are presuming to defy the judgment of the Holy Father.
He seduced a queen.
You have a way with women, and as God has given me my dream, I intend to give you yours.
And commanded a crew of murderers and thieves.
How does a pardoned convict get the rest of his money?
On the most dangerous journey ever undertaken.
I suspect that he will never return.
Beyond the conspiracy, the betrayal.
Mutiny is punishable by death.
Lies the breathtaking spectacle of the discovery. Alexander Salkind presents Marlon Brando, Tom Selleck, George Corofas, Rachel Ward. The most exciting part of the adventure is the tale that has never been told. Christopher Columbus: The Discovery.
So I should explain that 1992 was the 500th anniversary of Christopher Columbus's voyage, where he goes out to try to find the West Indies Islands and actually comes across the discovery of America. And like I said before, there were a lot of movies that came out during that time period. I think mostly because it was the 500th anniversary. You had this movie, then you had 1492, Conquest of Paradise, which was directed by Ridley Scott. The Carry On series had a movie about Columbus called Carry On Columbus, and then there was also an animated movie about Christopher Columbus with Dom DeLuise as the voice of Columbus, The Magic Voyage. None of these movies are really all that good. In fact, the only one that I would say is probably the decent one is 1492, Conquest of Paradise, but that one doesn't come out until, looks like October, so we'll get to that one eventually, but it's the best of the Columbus movies, but it's not really saying all that much. But there were a lot of movies like that then. If you watch Naked Gun 33 1/3, they actually do have a joke at the Academy Awards where one of the categories is Best Actor in a Columbus Movie, which is topical for the time period. It's a joke that probably wouldn't hold up by today's standards, but it's still kind of funny when you watch that movie. But we'll get to Naked Gun 33 1/2 later when we get to 94, but this movie in particular is pretty bad. It's a movie that has a notorious behind-the-scenes history, and the fact that both the Salkind brothers, Alexander and Ilya, had an emotional falling out between this, and Alexander, a year later, would later say that after this movie, he knew that he would never make movies again. And this is a guy that produced Superman 4, The Quest for Peace, Supergirl, just some other notorious bombs, but this was the one that did it for him, and really you can kind of see why. There is really a lot here that is wrong in this movie. Marlon Brando's really bad in this movie. Tom Selleck is not very good. He's playing he's very cartoonish in here. This leading actor, Georges Coraface, who I guess they were trying to pin as this next new star. I don't think he ever did anything after this particular movie. Most notable things about this movie is that Tom Selleck won a Razzie Award for Worst Supporting Actor. Marlon Brando was nominated for Worst Supporting Actor, and there were some other Golden Raspberry nominations to it, including Worst Picture, Worst Director, Worst New Star, and this was a surprise to me. I completely forgot that this was written by Mario Puzo of The Godfather, and it's just like, wow. Mario Puzo, the man who wrote the Godfather trilogy, wrote this movie. I mean, that's amazing. That's amazing how badly your career has gone. Even for John Glenn, who we already talked about one of his bad movies, Aces Iron Eagle 3, already this year. But this was the guy that directed 5 James Bond movies prior to this. And now this is where he's gone to. And this is the second to last movie he ever directed, and the last one he would make for almost 10 years. I mean, talk about a movie that just completely ruins a lot of careers, and a lot of these careers never really got back on the ground again for the most part. Like I said, for the most part, I mean, you did have a couple of stars that made it out of this. Brando made it out of this. Selleck made it out of this. Catherine Zeta-Jones made her in one of her early film roles. Of course, she went on to become a big star. Bottom line, the movie just isn't very good. It's a very sloppily written movie. It tries way too hard. The acting is not good. Scenes that are supposed to be taken very seriously are laughable. It's a horrible movie on so many levels. It's one of those movies that really is one of those films that needs to have a documentary about the fact that it is one of the most interesting film failures of all time, because it really is. Like, it seems like a mess of a movie on so many levels. So that's really all I got to say about this one. Christopher Columbus: The Discovery. It's pretty bad. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie that we have here, and that is The Gun in Betty Lou's Handbag.
She was just a quiet housewife.
She's going through some hormonal changes.
Shut up, Alex!
Until she confessed to a murder she didn't commit.
I'm guilty.
And became the talk of the town.
It's always the quiet ones.
Officer Perkins, how well do you know your wife?
My whole life flashed before my eyes, so I pulled the trigger.
I want to believe you. I really do.
Now, this sweet little librarian.
That's Betty Lou Perkins. Hell, I don't go to the library enough.
Is at the center of attention.
What did your hair?
And on top of the world.
People have always gotten the wrong idea about me. I can live with it.
The Gun in Betty Lou's Handbag.
She almost killed me in the bathroom.
Speaking of notable failures, what the hell did I just watch? I mean, man, talk about a movie that's not funny whatsoever, has a lot of annoying people in it, has a really good cast to it. You got Penelope Ann Miller in here, you've got Julianne Moore, William Forsythe, Alfred Woodard, Catherine Moriarty. Just a great cast overall being wasted on this movie. Wow, this is a bad, bad movie. I've seen this movie before. I watched it one time a couple of years ago, and I couldn't believe how bad this was, especially with everybody involved in it. The thing that shocked me the most in looking at research for this again is that this is directed by Alan Moore, whose last movie was the far superior Pump Up the Volume, and after this, his next movie would be another cult hit, which would be Empire Records. So in between Pump Up the Volume and Empire Records, he makes this movie, which just seems like an overall disaster on so many levels. I mean, I didn't laugh once in that trailer. I remember watching this movie, and I didn't remember laughing, period. Just a mess of a movie on so many levels. I don't know what the hell they were thinking when they made this movie. It's a generic script. This leading character is not all that exciting whatsoever. There's just not any good laughs in here. There's nothing funny about it. The story is very predictable and cliche. It's a really bad movie on so many levels. So that's The Gun in Betty Lou's Handbag. Let's go ahead and move on to the next movie then, and that is Little Nemo: Adventures in Slumberland.
From the director of Home Alone.
Oh, we're flying!
Comes a magical tale for the entire family. When a little boy has big dreams, anything is possible.
Your Majesty, may I present little Nemo?
And every wish can come true.
I hereby crown you Prince Nemo. Let the celebration begin!
Take off on a wondrous adventure with a young explorer.
It will be Prince Nemo's solemn duty to protect Slumberland from the Nightmare King as I have done.
Who must save the life of a noble king.
Nemo, give me the royal scepter!
He's been taken away to Nightmare Land.
Outmatch the power of a mighty monster.
Ooh, pajamas do scare me so.
And win the heart of a beautiful princess.
No one has ever accepted a royal invitation in his underwear.
Share the excitement. The laughter.
I haven't had this much fun in years.
Neither have I.
The music of Little Nemo. With songs by Melissa Manchester and Academy Award winners Richard and Robert Sherman.
This is great!
Featuring the voice of Mickey Rooney as Flip.
Did anyone ever tell you you're kind of cute when you're angry?
Now, let the child in your heart fly.
Quite the prince you become, my little Nemo.
Little Nemo, Adventures in Slumberland.
Man, talk about a major missed opportunity. There's no real way to talk about this movie than to talk about... This is another one of those movies that's one of those interesting film failures, because this began development back in 1982, and they had a number of people aboard on this project, including animators that had worked at Disney, Star Wars, Looney Tunes, Studio Ghibli, names such as George Lucas, Chuck Jones, Ray Bradbury, Brad Bird, Jerry Rees, Chris Columbus. You see his name in the credits as one of the writers on here, and it's also advertised as from the director of Home Alone, which it's kind of true, but then it's kind of not. You also have Frank Thomas, Ollie Johnson, two classic Disney writers, Paul Julian, a classic animator at Warner Brothers. Well, not Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnson were not writers, they were animators, I should say. The Sherman Brothers wrote the music for this. Hayao Miyazaki, who was working at TMS at the time. Gary Kurtz, the producer of Star Wars. This was supposed to be the big showcase for TMS. TMS Animation, if you don't know who they are, you've definitely seen their work before, because they've done their best work. They are most notably known for working on Akira, which is a classic animated film, but they also did the animation for classic American shows like Tiny Toons, Animaniacs, Batman the Animated Series, a lot of the Warner Brothers shows from the 90s, a lot of the Disney afternoon shows from the 80s and 90s. So this was supposed to be their big showcase film to really show off what they could do as an animation studio, and the end result is a nicely animated film, but a film with a lot of creative and writing plot holes to it. I mean, this is a movie that really looks impressive, but when you look at the script overall for this is a movie that has a really lousy written script, but mostly because it was a jumbled mess, because you have all these creative minds coming in here, and they're not really giving these characters a whole lot to do, especially Nemo, who's voiced by Gabriel Damon, who you may remember as the voice of Littlefoot from Land Before Time, and also the kid from RoboCop 2. And all of Little Nemo's dialogue in this particular movie is mostly just expressions, like him saying yippee all the time, and just not really having much of a defined character, but he's supposed to be the main hero of the film. A lot of the people in this movie, a lot of the characters in this movie really have no real intentions except to just play the stereotypical characters that they're playing, and the situation that these characters are put into are not really all that inventive. They're not really all that creative. The songs in here are not that memorable. I mean, you've got the Sherman Brothers working on this movie. I mean, these are guys that could turn any song in this movie into musical gems. But here, there's just nothing in here. It's a movie that really fails to really get the potential that they could have gotten out of this, because this is based off of a comic strip series from the 1910s. 1900s, 1910s. There really could have been something incredible with this movie that could have been done with it, but I think because there was just so many problems behind the scenes of how to present this movie and how to write the script better, how to make these characters come out better. I think the movie really suffers big time, and it's a shame too because, like I said, the movie has some great animation to it. I mean, this is TMS, this is a great animation company, but really, I think their showcase project really came from Akira, which is a movie that we still talk about today as not only one of the great animated movies of all time, but one of the great movies of all time. But this movie in particular really, it's a shame that it didn't turn out as well as I think they could have been, because this really could have been something amazing. And maybe, hopefully, one day somebody will actually do something with this property, because there is a lot of potential with these Little Nemo stories that could be translated into animation in film form. I think there's a lot of potential here. There really was a lot of potential in this movie that could have been done, but it just never really got a chance to really show off what it could really do, because a lack of good character development and a lack of a good story to give these characters to work with. And yeah, it's a shame that it didn't work out, because there really was a lot of potential here that just really fell apart quickly with this movie. So it's a shame too, because like I said, there was a lot of potential there, and the animation still looks great over 30 years later. So, but it is what it is. That's Little Nemo Adventures in Slumberland for you. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is Stephen Hawking's A Brief History in Time.
Good model. If first it interprets a wide range of observations in terms of a simple and elegant model. And second, if the model makes definite predictions that can be tested and possibly falsified by observation.
Unfortunately, I couldn't find a trailer for this one, but I did find that May trailer online. Basically, this is the biographical documentary about the life of Stephen Hawking, whose life would later be turned into another movie, which is The Theory of Everything. This is a movie this basically takes from Hawking's book, A Brief History of Time, but whereas the book is solely an explanation of cosmology, the film is additionally about the life of Hawking and interviews with his family and his colleagues. And it has Errol Morris's collaborator Philip Glass doing the music for this. And I've actually seen this documentary before. I saw it once on TV, and it's a pretty decent movie. It's a pretty solid film that showcases the life of Hawking and how he became what he became known for. Some of the interesting theories and situations that he worked on during the course of his life. It's a solid, entertaining movie. It's a movie that has a really good score to work with by Glass, and it does a good job of explaining who Stephen Hawking is, and it doesn't dumb it down for the audience. It's a movie that really gives you a lesson about who this guy was and what amazing things he did during his life. And it's a pretty good documentary. If you want to see something about the life of Stephen Hawking, this is definitely worth a watch. A Brief History of Time. So let's go ahead and move on to the next movie, and that is Willem Dafoe in Light Sleeper.
I feel my life turning. You drift from day to day. Years go by. Then a change comes. I am able to change. I can be a good person. What a strange thing to happen halfway through your life.
In Taxi Driver, the revelations disturbed you. In American Gigolo, the images provoke you. And now from Paul Schrader comes a story about the discovery of the spirit.
Everything you need is around you. The only danger is inside you.
The lure of decadence.
I have a strong feeling about this woman, a woman close to you. She will betray you.
And the chance for escape.
If I could do that, I could do anything.
What does that mean?
We could do anything.
So Light Sleeper is written and directed by Paul Schrader. As you see from the trailer, it's basically following Willem Dafoe as this high-class drug dealer who's battling with a midlife crisis. He becomes embroiled in tragic events following the chance encounter with a former girlfriend. And the movie is basically just him going through all these different adventures. Like, he sees his ex-wife. They stopped dating because he became abusive. He became addicted to drugs, and he has a one-night stand with somebody, and just all these different crazy things happen in this movie. And the movie itself is largely forgotten. It's a movie that didn't do so well at the box office, even though it did well enough with critics. But the movie overall is actually pretty decent. Paul Schrader's made a ton of good movies. Some very underrated films, in my opinion. He's the man who's most notably known for writing stuff like Taxi Driver, Rolling Thunder, Raging Bull, The Mosquito Coast, The Last Temptation of Christ. But as a director, most of his movies have not been great, but some of them have been really good. Like movies like Hardcore, George C. Scott movie American Gigolo, Cat People. This is one of his more underrated movies, in my opinion. This is a movie that doesn't really get talked about a whole lot, but works mostly because of the great performances. Willem Dafoe in this movie is fantastic in this movie. You've got Susan Sarandon, Dana Delaney's in this movie, Victor Garber, Sam Rockwell's in this, as well as David Spade as a cokehead, which is very interesting and funny to watch. But, yeah, the movie overall is very good. It's a movie that doesn't get talked about a whole lot, but it's a movie that's definitely very underrated. It's a film that you really should give a chance at. You should really give it a good chance to see it. It's definitely worth it, especially if you want to see a great Willem Dafoe performance that doesn't get a whole lot of attention. This movie is definitely it. I'd say definitely go ahead and check out Light Sleeper. You will not be disappointed by it. So, with that said, on to the last movie, and that is The Ox.
Utan också här hos oss ligger åldringar och små barn för döden. Irrläror och falska rykten är i omlopp om välstånd och lättförtjänta rikedomar annorstädes i världen.
So no trailer for that part, and I had to take a clip from the movie itself. I don't even know if I took a part that was actually relevant to the plot of the film, but the plot of the movie is, in desperation brought on by near starvation, Helge Roos kills his master's ox and feeds it to his wife and baby daughter. No one suspects anything until the meat is finished and Helge tries to sell the hide at a local market. He is spotted by the local victor and, racked with guilt, confesses. The vicar assaults him that if he gives up, he'll be treated leniently, but Helge's sentence is far harsher than anyone predicted. And that's pretty much all I know about this movie because I've never seen it, and I know nothing really about it, so... But it's got Stellan Skarsgård in it. Max von Sydow is also in it as well. It was nominated for the Academy Award for Best Foreign Language Film at the Oscars that year. That's pretty much all I got for you because I know nothing about this movie, and you know, judging by the synopsis right there, it doesn't really sound like a lot, but it could be a lot. Like I don't know. Maybe this movie actually is worth it, but I haven't seen it. Can't really comment on it, but I know it came out that weekend, and we're gonna acknowledge it. So there you go. That's pretty much everything I know about The Ox.
Jack, if I go, I want you to make me a promise that you'll always love me. Of course, Mom. And you'll never get married.
I need a commitment. I want to be married.
Jack Singer has made his decision.
Let's just do it. Get on a plane, go to Vegas, and do it. Now.
Jack is going to get married.
You're serious?
I must be. My legs are paralyzed.
But a funny thing happened on the way to the wedding.
Sorry, man. Straight flush to the Jack. To the Queen.
Wise men say
You owe Tommy Coleman $65,000.
only fools rush in.
Eddie, do you have a solution?
I do. I want your girlfriend for the weekend.
You brought me to Las Vegas and you turned me into a hooker, Jack!
I'll be a perfect gentleman.
He's taking me to Hawaii.
So, Corman's address is near Kapa. Is it Kapa or Kapa?
If you want to leave, believe me, I understand.
Is it AAA or AA?
It's just a little overwhelming, to be pursued like this.
What about near where Don Ho or Jack Lord lives? That must be a pretty good neighborhood.
Why, the women, when they come here, oh, they get crazy. They like freaky all night long.
No one ever was as crazy about you as I am.
Well, that's just so wonderful to hear.
Let's just fly to Vegas, get married, and go on with our lives.
Just get me anywhere where I can get a connecting flight to Las Vegas.
Las Vegas, anybody! Come on, hop aboard. We're the flying Elvis, Utah chapter.
The king may be dead, but Jack Singer's not far behind.
Listen, if you could just drop me.
Oh, yeah, we'll sure drop you.
Honeymoon in Vegas.
Interesting bit of trivia there. That little kid there that was playing the little Elvis, that's actually Bruno Mars. This was the first movie that he was ever involved in. His first real glimpse at stardom before he eventually became the music superstar that he became 20 years later. I thought that was an interesting little bit of history there, but As far as the movie itself goes, this is a pretty fun movie. It's a very light screwball comedy with a lot... It's kind of like the comedy equivalent to Indecent Proposal, where that one is like... Well, that one has more... is taken more seriously. This is done more comedic-wise. Like, Nicolas Cage plays this guy who decides that he's going to go to Las Vegas and marry his girlfriend, played by Sarah Jessica Parker, but he makes a bad bet with a wealthy gambler, played by James Caan, and he basically asks him for his girlfriend for the weekend, and it basically turns into kind of a similar movie to Indecent Proposal, except that one's taken more seriously. This is done more for comedic purposes, and the end result is a very funny movie in the end. It's a great movie. Nicolas Cage and Sarah Jessica Parker work off each other very well. Actually, Sarah Jessica Parker has some pretty good chemistry with Cage and Caan in this movie, and it's just a fun concept overall. It's a movie that's it's a very by-the-numbers script, but really, it delivers what you expect it to do. It delivers everything that you want it to do. It's a light screwball comedy, gives you everything that you want, and again, overall, it's a very enjoyable movie. It's a very funny film, written and directed by Andrew Bergman, who made another great underrated film just a couple years ago that we looked at called The Freshman. Great film with Matthew Broderick and Marlon Brando. This is another really good movie from him. Definitely probably one of my favorite movies from him, honestly, looking at the movies that he's made. It's a fun movie. It's just a fun film overall. Great comedy, great laughs, great cast overall, great writing, great direction. It just works on so many levels. It's a great movie. Honeymoon in Vegas. If you haven't seen it, by all means, please check it out. So, with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the next movie that we have here, and that is the horror sequel, Pet Sematary 2.
Hey, what are you doing?
Getting things ready for Mom. Mom's dead, Jack.
She doesn't have to be.
Something strange.
I didn't think much about it until I saw him drag the body out of the coffin.
Something ancient. Bury your own. Something evil.
Was it your idea of a joke to send me blood from a dead animal? This dog is alive. Not this dog.
Something terrifying is happening in Ludlow, Maine. Again.
Pick up your family and get the hell out of that town.
Pet Cemetery 2.
Jeff, honey. Father and I need to talk.
Some stories just won't stay dead.
Yeah, this story probably should have stayed dead. I mean, if Stephen King wants his name completely removed from the project, then... Actually, you know what? Compared to what Stephen King actually puts his name on, that's probably not a good sign for this movie. But yeah, this movie definitely is a major step down from the first movie. In fact, Paramount was actually not sure if they actually wanted to move on with the sequel, but they only did it if they could get the original director back. They actually had another story altogether where Ellie Creed, the young kid from the first movie, became the central character of the movie, as she was the only survivor from the first movie. However, Paramount didn't feel like they could make the film's lead with a teenage girl, which that's just a stupid argument altogether. In fact, Paramount, 3 years after this movie came out, would have a big hit with Clueless, and guess who was the lead in there? A teenage girl. So, completely takes away the logic on that one. So, they rewrote the story with a new character, and they put in a male protagonist. They actually cast Edward Furlong shortly after Terminator 2 came out. And the end result is this movie, which is largely panned by most people. It's definitely a major step down from the previous movie. You can definitely hear that they actually took sounds from other Stephen King movies, because you hear a little bit of screaming there, and if you listen to the end of the Tales from the Dark Side, the movie trailer, it's pretty much the same scream here. So they're just rehashing everything and hoping that it's going to turn out well, and it didn't turn out well. This movie was largely panned, completely forgotten almost immediately. But overall, the one positive that everybody took from this movie was that Clancy Brown was really good. I mean, it's Clancy Brown playing kind of an antagonist role here. I mean, that's perfect casting for him. I mean, he usually never goes wrong in that role. So I can see why people latched onto that as the most positive thing they could take from this movie. But the rest of the movie itself, though, doesn't really make a ton of sense on so many levels. They got a really good cast here, too. You got Edward Furlong, Clancy Brown, Anthony Edwards playing a doctor a couple years before he became a much more famous doctor on ER. Jared Rustin from Big and Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Excuse me. But, yeah, this is one where I feel like they went for the bigger stars than actually making a story that could follow up from the original film. And it doesn't really work on any level, shape, or form. There's nothing really there that makes it stand out more than the first movie does. The first movie can be really silly, but the terrifying factor was there. There ain't nothing terrifying about this movie. In fact, a lot of the elements in this movie make no sense whatsoever, and it's just not a very good movie. It's a movie that really is a major step down from the previous film, and it just didn't work on any level, shape, or form, so quickly went away, and you can see why. Pet Sematary 2, not anywhere near as good as the original, so let's go ahead and move on to the next movie that we have here, and that is kind of another high-profile film that didn't do so well. David Lynch's feature film follow-up to Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me. So something you kind of have to keep in mind with this movie is that it was not only coming 2 years after the original series premiered, but the zeitgeist of Twin Peaks had already kind of died down. It was kind of a one-season wonder, and then by the time the second season happened, the show was already gone after that second season, most likely because it had a lot of trouble living up to the hype of the first season, and it also didn't help that ABC put it on Saturday nights, dumped it on Saturday night, and it completely lost the buzz in the ratings. So making this movie to be kind of the prequel to the events of the series, where we actually get to see the last couple of days of Laura Palmer, played by Cheryl Lee, before she ends up getting killed, it's kind of a tough thing to do. It's a movie that tries way too hard to try to put the pieces together from the start of the series. And when the film came out, it polarized a lot of people. It was one of those movies where they took it to the Cannes Film Festival that year, and it actually got booed and jeered by a lot of people. And the film was not a big hit at the box office. It kind of crashed and burned, and it wasn't that big of a success, and it kind of hurt David Lynch's name for a little bit there. Because, I mean, at that point, David Lynch was one of the big names at the start of the decade. But then after that movie came out, he really kind of went away for a long time, and then came back later on in the year with the decade with Lost Highway and The Straight Story at the end of the decade. But over 30 years later now, I think a lot of people realize that there is a lot more here to it than what was there at the beginning when it first came out. It's one of those movies that does age well with time, especially now when you have the revival series that came shortly after in 2017 that kind of is probably the best thing to come out of Twin Peaks, honestly, that last season that Showtime did. And as far as this movie goes, I finally saw it later on down the road, and I kind of realized that, yeah, there was a reason to make this movie. It is a very interesting film. It's a much darker and less humorous piece compared to the TV series. And I think a lot of people that looked at this movie back then were kind of there was no real reason to make that movie back then, but as the series has kind of had this cult following over the last 30 years, it's come to back to fruition that this movie actually was really doing a lot more to kind of fix the story up a little bit. It's a movie that has definitely aged over time. If you ever saw the original series and watched all the recent series as well, I think you could enjoy this a lot more compared to just going into it first time without ever really knowing what's going on. Because I think that's kind of why this movie didn't do so well. Because I think a lot of people who saw this movie maybe didn't go into the original series beforehand, but it is actually a pretty decent movie. The mystery is very good. I like the darker, less humorous tone they take. I think overall it does lead to a pretty solid movie overall. It's a movie that I think works better if you've seen all of Twin Peaks of the original series and then this movie. And I think you definitely get more out of it than if you go into it cold turkey. So that's my personal thoughts on this movie. Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me. It's better if you've seen the original series first than actually going into it just on its own. And that's how I feel about it. So on to the next movie. That is Freddy as F07, a.k.a. Freddy the Frog.
On a time when all truly great stories begin.
If you've been looking for an enchanting new hero in the world of children's entertainment, look no further. Freddy is here. Freddy the Frog.
I'm not a frog. I'm a prince. Oh, that's funny.
It's the story of a handsome prince with magical powers who falls under an evil spell cast upon him by his wicked aunt.
I shall rule the world!
But grows up to become the most famous secret agent in all the world. With heartwarming narration by James Earl Jones.
So began Freddy's greatest adventure to date.
And starring the voice of Academy Award-winning actor Ben Kingsley as Freddy.
I'm not the little frog I was so long ago.
Join Freddy.
Good choice.
Deffers.
Oh, Reggie, give me frogs any day.
Scotty.
What are we doing here?
Nessie.
Charmed, I'm sure.
And their loyal friends as they band together to keep the world safe from Messina, El Supremo, and the forces of evil. MCA Universal Home Video presents a story that will delight children of all ages.
Freddy used his magical powers to travel around the world, fighting evil near and far.
Oh, where to begin with this movie? A story that starts off with fantasy, then goes into the secret agent genre, then you find out it stars Ben Kingsley, and yeah, that perfectly sums up everything wrong with this movie. This is a movie that's so bizarre, and for a lot of people, they saw this cut right here, which was from the MCA Universal Home Video release, and that narration by James Earl Jones was added in there. Different odds and ends were actually cut in sequences, were re-edited supposedly in hopes to make the film easier to follow. They actually took out a lot of racially sensitive elements to the movie, which, shockingly, there was a lot of. There's the KKK in this, Nazi Axis-like soldiers, Taurus and punk crows redubbed. It's unbelievable how bizarre this movie is. The original cut of this movie has never been released on a wider scale. As far as I'm concerned, this movie I don't think ever saw the light of day after this. But a lot of us knew this because of the MCA Universal cut, and either way, they probably got a subpar or lackluster movie in the process, because this is definitely a mess of a movie. This movie is so all over the place. The animation is all over the place. Half of the time it looks amazing, but then other times it looks like really bad direct-to-video garbage. Plus, you're wasting a good cast here. Ben Kingsley as Freddy the Frog. I mean, that should be enough right there to tell you how they messed this up. You also have Jenny Gutter from American Werewolf in London, Brian Blessed, John Sessions, Nigel Hawthorne, Jonathan Pryce. The story is all over the place, starting off as a fantasy adventure, then going into a spy movie. like they had 2 different scripts for this, for 2 different animated movies, and just cut it in half to plaster it into one movie. And they actually planned on making a sequel to this, which I don't know how they were going to, because nobody was asking for this movie to begin with. It's really a forgettable piece of 90s fluff. Mixed animation, waste of a good cast, lackluster music, a lousy story, just a mess overall on so many fronts. It's a movie that's so bizarre, so insane, and just, you never really get the sense that there was a good agreement on what direction they wanted to take this movie to. And yeah, sure enough, this movie ends up being one of those weird, bizarre pieces of 90s fluff that's just instantly forgettable. But when you see it, you kind of remember it if you grew up in the 90s, because it was all over the place for a little bit. But not for too long. But it definitely holds your memory back if you actually remember this movie coming out on video at the time, like it did for me. So that's Freddy as FR07, Freddy the Frog, whatever you want to call it. Call it shit, because that's exactly what it is. So, on to the next movie, the last movie that we have here, and that is Storyville.
With campaign promises and political payoffs, a candidate's private moment can quickly become public record.
I want the tape.
The candidate, the seduction, the murder. It all happens in Storyville. James Spader, Joanne Whalley-Kilmer, Jason Robards. Directed by Mark Frost. Storyville. Rated R.
So James Spader stars as this lawyer running for Congress in New Orleans. He's filmed with a prostitute's blackmail, and as he investigates, he discovers shocking secrets about his father, his family's fortunes, his own political advisors. And coincidentally, we're talking about something from the same people that brought us Twin Peaks. Mark Frost, who also did Hill Street Blues, directed this movie, and he co-wrote this movie. Pretty good cast here. James Spader, Joanne Whalley-Kilmer, Jason Robards, Piper Laurie, Chuck McCann's in this. That's pretty much all I know about it, because I haven't seen it. I don't really know too much about this movie, honestly. But James Spader looks like he's given a good performance, so there's that. So yeah, there's nothing really more I can add on this one here, because I haven't seen it, can't talk about it a lot, but looks promising enough. So yeah, that's all I got for you on Storyville.